Well, who wants to learn a flower arrangement? My name is Janette and I'm from Case Flower School, and today we're going to have a free class on how to make a flower arranging basket. This will be ideal to treat yourself or again to give as a gift to somebody. So before we get started, we need everybody to check in. So anybody that's watching there, let us know, where are you watching in from? Again, are you abroad? Are you around the world? Are you living here in Ireland or the UK? So comment below where you're watching in from. And as you know, we're dead nosy and we like to know what's the weather like around the country. Today I have to say it hasn't been too bad of a day in Dublin, so we won't moan. And again, fingers crossed, because you know yourself, the minute you say that, it'll start lashing rain. So what's our plan today? So as I said, I have this beautiful basket, and this basket is available in most of the suppliers. And I know O'Neill's up in Carlingford, so o'neillsflowers.ie, if you want to Google them, they have something very similar to this in different shapes. But to be honest, like any type of basket that you have will absolutely do. Now I see we have a good few people watching at this stage, so I really would appreciate if you clicked share. Because when we come on and we do these free classes, the idea is that we're kind of like building up our audience, but also getting the analytics out there for Facebook, and let people know Case Flower School exists. So again, we'd really appreciate if you click share. And again, anybody just joining us, comment below where you're watching in from, what's the weather like. And again, if you know somebody who likes flower arranging, why don't you tag them and let them know the girls over in Case Flower School, they're live. We have Deirdre behind camera and we have Sinead on standby there. So again, if you have any questions throughout this class, comment underneath. Now these baskets, as I said, are plastic lined, okay? So they will hold the foam. And I have a block of foam here, and this already has been wet. The foam, I suppose, that we use quite a lot here at the school would be the actual Oasis brand. And I know O'Neill's Flowers up in Carlingford, they are one of the agencies for the Oasis brand. And again, if you want to buy it in small quantities or you want to buy by the box, they're actually very reasonably priced. And remember, O'Neill's will ship the boxes of Oasis all over Ireland, but also to the UK. So when you're measuring your foam, you need your foam, I'm just going to rest the block in here, you need your foam to come up at least 2 centimetres over the top of the basket. And the easiest thing to do is to use a knife. This is one of the Oasis florist knives, okay, and just kind of like rest it in there and make a little mark for yourself where the top of the basket is meeting the foam. And then you can take it back out again. I can't actually see my mark, so I'm going to have to face it myself just so that I can see where it is. Okay, there you go. It was hard for me to see it when I was looking at it backwards. Now I'm going to go a good 2 centimetres past that. I always prefer to have an extra bit of foam, okay? And with these knives, you can see the way I just cut down and it just breaks real easy. So this is it's approximately 2/3 of a block of foam, to be honest. Now what I always like to do with foam is cut off the corners, okay? Now by the way, you can cut the foam when it's dry. I had one of our students on today and she was based in Galway, and she was saying that when she cuts off the pieces of foam, the wedgies as I call them, she said like quite a lot of them over a long period of time, they weigh her bin, you know, really heavy. And obviously in her part of the country, they're charged by the weight of the wheelie bin, which is a really good point. So I was saying to her, you know, you can cut the foam when it's dry. I prefer to cut it when it's wet. I find when it's dry, it's dusty, and the dust either goes in my eyes or up my nose and starts making me sneeze. The next thing I like to do, now this is just a habit I have, I like to peel around the top of the floral foam as if I was peeling potatoes or peeling an apple there. I wouldn't get a job peeling apples, would I, or potatoes? It's a little bit crooked, but it doesn't matter. I like to peel off them corners. And now I'm going to rest the floral foam down into the centre of the basket. Now you can use a frog's leg to secure that in place, but again I'm going to show you today another technique. So I'm just going to dry my hands. The next thing you will need is gutter tape, and gutter tape comes in green or white. And when you're buying gutter tape from your suppliers, they may offer you gutter coil or gutter perca. So gutter perca is kind of like the crepe version, and this is the one that I prefer to use, or as I always say our students, Stemtex, S-T-E-M-T-E-X. I often say to the students, it sounds like what they make bombs with. Now, not that I'd have a clue how you make bombs, but it sounds kind of similar. So you have your gutter tape, and then you have 20 gauge wires. Now when you're buying wires, you pay by the weight for the wires, but also wires are different gauges. So the larger the number goes, the lighter the wire goes. So if you go to your supplier and he offers you 22 gauge wires. They're half the thickness of the one that I'm using. Now when you're only learning how to gutter tape, I recommend place 2 wires side by side. It's easier for you. Now I do have a slow motion step-by-step tutorial showing you how to gutter tape, where obviously with the live class it just would take too long to keep going over this step by step. So you will find that blog, okay, or that tutorial on the blog page of our website. Somebody that's watching, I know all the Celine and Noreen and Sinead and all our regulars and Trish Kenny, they're all watching there. So if you put in the comments there our website address, www.kaysflourschool.com, or if any of you are organised, maybe go to the blog page and put the link for the blog page. When you get to the blog page, just scroll down, how to gutter tape, and you'll be able to watch it, and it's absolutely free. It'll cost you nothing. Now you can do 2 of these if you want to. Again, one of the sayings we use here at the class, it's a bit of an Irish saying, to be sure, to be sure, to be feckin' well sure. So when we secure something into a container, like our oasis into our basket, we want to make sure that it's not going to fall out. Now with some baskets, you're able to stick your wire through the basket, and you can see there that's what I'm actually doing. Can you see the way I inserted the wire through and it came out the opposite side? And then what I can do is I can bring it around and I can twist it around itself so it's nice and secure. Now if your wire is not long enough, you know what I mean, to come across to the other side, this is where you need the second wire. And again, if you just crisscross them like an X, hopefully you can see that, and then all you have to do is just twist them around each other. Now some of you might say, well, when you're on module 3 I show you how to make support wires and we gutter tape them together. It's not going to be strong enough for what I'm going to do. I'm now going to spin the turntable, and these turntables are available in IKEA. They used to be around 10-12 euros. They're not that expensive. They're well worth getting. Now I find when you're working on an island or a raised table, do you know that way, the lower turntable is better. But again, if you're working on your lower kitchen table at home, you might find one of the metal turntables, which I often use, might be better because again, it'll raise it up that little bit higher. Now when I'm securing the wire on the opposite side, similar to how I did the near side here, I always go from the inside of the basket out. So again, I'm getting my wire inside of the basket, sticking it through, and it's coming through there, you can see, the opposite side. And then I'm going to just pull it kind of like tight enough that it's going to secure our oasis into our basket. Now the wire is a little bit too long, so I'm going to cut a small bit off it, not loads. I'm going to bring it back around, and again I'm going to twist it around itself, and that's just again to secure it. And again, you can press your wire down just to make sure that it's going to hold it. That's just a little bit where I joined up our wires, and that will secure your floral foam in your basket. For any of you that are new to this, it might be a good idea to put a second wire going across, and you can be sure to be sure to be sure to be sure to be feckin' well sure. Or the other thing that you could use is a frog's leg and some floral fix, and again I've done that at some of my previous classes. I'm always trying with these free classes to show something different as we go along. Now, for the time of year that's in it, flowering heather is available, and you can buy that from your local florist. But the heather that I'm using today is actually from the Irish Green guys down in County Kerry, so the south of Ireland. So again, anybody, maybe Celine or Noreen that are watching, you might tag in the Irish Green guys for me. So what I'm just going to do is cut it up into like little segments and just get as many pieces out of it as I possibly can. So this isn't going to be a kind of a traditional flower arrangement. Okay, there's another little bit there. I'm going to keep it kind of random and loose and a little bit wild. Now this stem hasn't as much flower on it, but again, can you see the way I'm cutting down in between the stem? Where a lot of you would be cutting off all them fecky bits, as we say in Ireland. You see them miserable little bits, you'd be all day sticking them in. Cut down in between it and kind of get chunky bits. It's much, much better. And even the piece that hasn't got as much flower on it, it'll add as another texture into the arrangement to give us like a kind of a greenery filler. Because I'm not going to use greenery in this arrangement. So again, I'm working my way in here, in between the sprigs, cut down through the centre, cut down through the centre, and again that one there, down through the centre, down through the centre, and get as much cutting. Now, again, if you're a wholesaler, or if you're a florist, I meant to say, sorry, you can contact Irish Green guys in Kerry and you can buy it wholesale. For anybody that's watching that's just looking for a little bit for themselves, you probably will find your local florist will have it, but also any of the flower farmers in Ireland that are growing their own material. So again, if one of our secretaries might tag Flower Farmers of Ireland. They have a Facebook page, they have an Instagram page, and again you can pop over there. And I know one particular girl who we deal with quite a lot, Grania from Graw Cut Flowers. Now I'm not sure if she's grown the heather, but I know like throughout the year she grows like lots of different flowers and foliage. Like there a little while ago, like some of the students were buying the silver Sussex and the eucalyptus offer, the ranunculus and the anemones. Now I'm not sure stock wise what she has now, and that sometimes is something that happens with the Irish flower farmers. It's hard for them to keep up with the demand, and especially sometimes when we mention here at Case Flower School at our demonstrations, and then everybody starts contacting them and suddenly they find that they haven't got enough to keep up the stocks. So I have a good bit of it cut up there. So what I'm going to do is just randomly, no particular pattern, is stick the heather into the arrangement. Now sometimes I'll have to clean off the ends of the stem so that I have a nice kind of stem to stick in, but sometimes the stem I cut off, you know, that way I'm still able to use that as well. Now you can follow a pattern, you can follow a system if you want to, but I'm keeping this really easy, you know, that way, and as I said, a little bit more irregular and informal to what I would normally do with just here. So again, you can then just keep turning your turntable around, and we can go over to, I'm not finished that side by the way, and I'm going to stick in another bit over here. I'm mixing it that I have some of the flower that has a lot of flower on it, and then some of it that has kind of like, as you can see there, it's kind of like more green than it is flower. Now I am going to do a class, and again make sure to join me another night. I'm going to cut this one a bit smaller. I will do a class like to make a heather dory, so make sure that you look that up. And if you ever miss any of our classes, we normally post a lot of these classes over on our YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, well then you're able to like log in, or you'll get a notification to say, I mightn't say this, but something like the girls have just uploaded a new course, you know, that way, and then you can just like go to the YouTube channel and you can watch then the new course that we have. Now again, I'm not completely finished there, but you can see the way I'm trying to divide it up. Now this is something that I would teach our students at the class, not this particular arrangement, okay? Any of these free classes, we don't teach this on our classes, okay? Because obviously these are free and we have completely different displays to teach you on the courses that you actually pay for. But a technique, okay, that I would emphasize to our students, okay, is when you're making your flower arrangements, don't just concentrate on one side of the arrangement and keep banging everything in, and banging is an Irish word by the way, okay, like, you know, sticking everything in the one area. And that's why turntable is really good. Keep turning it around and looking at it from different angles, and basically is try and give every area of the arrangement, every area of the floral foam, every area of the display, a little bit of material. Because sometimes what happens, especially when you have maybe a limited amount, I haven't got a limited amount, I've absolutely loads of it, but I kind of feel I nearly will have enough at this stage anyway. But if you have a limited amount of it, or still, if you're only a beginner and you're not great at dividing your material up, you might find that you've ran out of material. So one side of the arrangement is absolutely gorgeous, and the other side of the arrangement is as baldy as Kojak. Does anybody remember Kojak? Kojak, he used to be a detective and he used to watch, or used to lick lollipops. So again, I don't know, let us know in the comments, are you as old as me? Do you remember Kojak? I'll just be gas here some of the competitions that we'd have. Are we going to have a competition today, Gordon? What do you think? Will we have a giveaway?
Oh, we might have a giveaway for maybe...
Comment underneath there, let us know if anybody can get a photograph of Kojak. You never know, there could be something sent out to you in the post. We always like to get people like interacting with our arrangements. But as you can see there, I've kind of divided it up. I've left a little bit of space. It's not competition to get as much heather into the arrangement as you possibly can, unless you're not planning on using anything else.
And actually, do you know what? It's just as a heather basket, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Exactly. And again, some people watching might have heather growing. So again, if there's anybody watching, have you got heather grown in your own garden, or has your neighbour got heather grown in the garden? So listen, if the ball went over the wall, you'd have to go into the neighbour's garden, and if your scissors just happened to be in your pocket and you fell on the plant and you went snip, 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 and you hopped back over the fence with the ball, so who could say anything to you? And again, you could always make a gorgeous little heather arrangement and bring it into the neighbour next door to cheer them up. So what I'm going to do flower wise, so remove this, listen, we'll have a little bit of a clean of the table there, and the next flower that I'm going to use is a couple of tulips, because you'll normally find when tulips are in season, heather is in season as well. And I just think the colour of these, I'll show them to you now, the colour of these tulips are absolutely stunning, okay? Now with the tulips, it's going to suit this sort of display, where again, it's not going to be very formal, it's going to be a little bit kind of more casual. Remember with tulips, they continue growing. So you might put them here, but the second flower will actually bend over that way, or it'll grow another 2 centimetres. They're amazing flowers, and most people don't realise it. And to be honest, I suppose they lend themselves to more informal arrangements. So with your tulip, cut it on a slant. Any of the foliage that comes off, pull it off, I meant to say, and then stick your flower down into your arrangement. Now again, anybody watching that has maybe done formal training with me here at the school would say, Janette, is that not your number one? No number one with this arrangement today. As I said, we're just keeping it, I broke that one there, we're keeping it a little bit more informal, do you know, that way, kind of like very, very casual, and that one doesn't want to go anywhere. So I want to throw that over the wall to your one with the ball that's gone over so I can rob our heather later on. Okay, we'll go again. And you will find with the tulips, when you are sticking them in, hold the end of the stem, you know, that way. So again, take off the leaf, hold the end of the stem, and then you can kind of like secure it, like tease it kind of into the floral foam. So I have 3 tulips in there, as you can see, no shape nor make, very casual and just stuck in. And that's what today's class is all about. It's for the beginner, it's for the non-professionals. You know, in saying that, we get lots of professionals who join us in here, and you'll always pick up a little tip, or you'll always pick up a little hint with me here when we're talking about flower arranging. There's so many different techniques, and I know a lot of you do ask me, what about more sustainable arrangements, or what about using foam free? I have lots and lots of classes out there. Again, if you go to our YouTube channel, I have a full section of eco-friendly, sustainable, recyclable arrangements up there. And actually at the moment, we're working on a brand new course. And this again will be kind of
It's nearly finished.
It's nearly finished, okay. It will be a kind of a sustainable, eco-friendly, recyclable, foam-free course, but using lots of methods. Like everybody knows about agri-wool. I've done lots of agri-wool. Everybody knows about the guppy. We've done lots of guppy arrangements with you. Everybody knows about Holly Chapel's cages and armatures. Again, we've done them. Everybody knows about the moss bricks. Sure, listen, I've done a whole class showing you how to do your own moss bricks. Everybody knows about agri-wool. Everybody knows about, I have a blank on them, pouches, the new pouch that's out there.
Punch, yeah.
Everybody knows about moss, you know that way, but it's bringing it all together. And that's what our new course is going to be about. It's just showing you all the methods, all the techniques, you know that way. Because sometimes one method might suit a floristry design. Another method might suit a bridal design. Another method might suit a sympathy design. Another method might suit a hand-tied bouquet, a gift idea.
And also where it's being put, whether it's being put in somewhere that has to live for a long time, or it's being put for something that just only has to last for a few hours.
Exactly.
Or somewhere very hot.
Are you making it on site, you know that way? And if you're making it on site, certain methods work out better for making it on site. Or are you making it 2 or 3 days beforehand, and do you have to transport it from Dublin to Donegal? Well, that's a different situation altogether, and a different method will suit. So part of that course will be going through whether it's a wedding, whether it's a funeral, whether it's getting organised in advance, whether it has to be transportable. Again, like we get followers here from all over the world. Like, you know, I mean, Portugal, America, New Zealand, Australia, and again, it could be a hot country, so a bit hotter than Ireland. So again, maybe the water source, you know, that way will be a completely different, you know, style, again, to keep the flowers fresh. And again, certain flowers will last out of water. Like orchids, I find are great for lasting out water. Gyp, even though it doesn't last out water, it actually dries out. And like what they're doing a lot of the times now is they're dyeing the gyp. And sure, dyed gyp, sure, it could be dead, and you dye it, and sure, it absolutely looks fantastic. So there you can see, I'm not finished. I just randomly put, going to put one more over here, randomly put a couple of tulips into that arrangement. And I've used up approximately 20. And when you go to buy tulips, like you normally buy them in 10s, okay? And in case somebody's saying, God, is she throwing all that stuff on the floor? Absolutely not. We have a magic bin here, and everything just lands in the magic bin, and it's absolutely perfect. Okay, as I said, I'm not finished. So the next flower I'm going to add into this arrangement is a couple of Lysianthus. Now again, if you've been watching me, you'll say, God, Janette loves Lysianthus. I do. I love pink as well, as you can see. Lysianthus is definitely one of my favourite flowers. And what I love about it is, what you see is what you get. In other words, when you buy it, whatever it looks like is what it's going to look like tomorrow. It may open slightly more over 4 or 5 days, but it's a great lasting flower. You can get 12 to 14 days out of it, and you'll still always have them little buds which never open. But you know yourself, there's always the customer say, they will, and they're there 2 months later still watering the arrangement, and sure, they're never going to open. So these little buds I absolutely adore, you know that way. And can you see the way I'm just adding them into the arrangement? And you might say, God, you're letting them bounce over the tulips a little bit. Yeah, because I know them tulips are going to grow. So again, I'm kind of like taking care that when the tulips grow, which they will, you know, especially within a day or two, they'll be up around the same height as the Lysianthus. Now again, you can see I'm not following a pattern, I'm not following a system. I'm not even looking at the flowers and saying which flower will I cut. I'm picking up a flower and again, getting a couple of heads of it, and I'm just sticking them into the arrangement. But now I just want to turn it around and stick a few in on the opposite side. I didn't finish explaining what I was trying to say to you earlier on about when you were putting in the heather, about not just concentrating on one side of the arrangement, is to keep turning it around and looking at all sides. And I always kind of think back to when, and I'm sure anybody that's out there will relate to this story, okay? When my mum, and she still, like, she makes the dinner for us, there's nothing like the mammy's dinner, is there? But when she would make the dinner, and typical Ireland, okay, we always had a big pot of spuds, big pot of potatoes, and she'd put, there was 3 kids in our house, and she put the 5 plates out on the table, and Daddy was obviously Daddy bear, Mammy bear, baby bear, and smaller bears, and so on. And she'd lash the potatoes onto the pot, onto the plate, and when she'd get to the last plate, so Sinead was the baby, again she'd get to the last plate, if there happened to be more left in the pot, Daddy bear got a few more, or Mammy bear got a few more, but she always made sure that we all got some potatoes before she used up the surplus. And I'm sure, let me know in the comments, did your mammy, or do you do that yourself? Even if it was a tin of beans, if there was 8 people turned up for dinner, my mum could stretch that tin of beans that we all got some beans, you know, that way. So again, she would make sure that there was beans on all of the plates, and if there was extra left over, Daddy bear or Mammy bear may have got the extra. So when you're doing your flower arranging, kind of think of that story, is dividing it up. Give every part of your arrangement some beans or some potatoes, you know, that way. And then if you have surplus left over, go back afterwards and give them all a little bit extra. So I absolutely adore these buds, aren't they fabulous? And they give a lovely, lovely texture to the arrangement. But as I said, they're not going to open. They're a little bit like the green buds that are on the baby carnations. You know the way people are convinced, they'll open. No, they won't. Unless they're showing colour, they definitely won't open. But still, I always encourage the students put them into the arrangements, because I tell them, sure, the customer is convinced they're going to open. The customer is going to keep watering the arrangement as we've instructed them, waiting on them to open. And again, in 6 weeks' time, they're still there. The buds are probably still there, you know, that way. And the customer is thrilled with themselves, saying, didn't that arrangement last for ages? Now, if anybody has any questions, I will shut up for a second. If anybody has any questions at all, put them in the comments there. Ask me. And again, if you're watching this on the replay, obviously not everybody's available when I go live, so if you're watching this on the replay, as you know, if you've followed us before, we always go through all our comments. We respond to everybody, you know, that way. So again, just put your question in the comments, and if there's something that you'd like us to cover, maybe on the sustainable course, add it in there into the comments. Or again, if you just have a question in general. Has anybody posted a photograph of Kojak yet?
Not yet. They can't post when we're live, so they have to wait until we stop live. Wait
afterwards. So again, this is what it looks like with the couple of Lysianthus going in and out through the tulips. Now there probably will be nearly enough in that at this stage, because what you will find will happen is the tulips are going to blow, and they'll probably grow to double the size they are at the moment. So where I do have space, you know what I mean, around each flower, but I do know that the tulip is going to open. The Lysianthus won't open huge. They will, the blown ones, they will open a tiny bit more, you know that way. And as I said, the buds won't. But the tulips are going to grow, so they'll come up kind of within the height, and it'll probably look more wild looking over the next few days. Now, even though the basket itself was one-sided, there's like a raffia bow on one side. I'll just kind of clean this off just so that you can see it better. I did make the arrangement double-sided, you know what I mean, that it looks nice on both sides. And again, this would be lovely just to give as a gift. Like, we're going to be coming up soon to maybe Easter holidays or mid-term breaks or the summer holidays. Now I know you won't be able to get the heather in the summertime, but when the kids get their holidays from school, they're always looking for something for the teachers, and the one that does the Irish class and the one that gives out the lunches, and Sister Mary, there's always a Sister Mary in every
And the
school.
lollipop lady.
And the lollipop lady, exactly. So you'll always find that you're looking for gifts. This is something that you could do. You could go to the supermarket, you could go to your local florist, and again, like baby carnations, chrysanthemums. Remember, you get tulips most of the year round. I know they're in season, kind of like spring, early summer, but they are the national flower of Holland, and that just means, because being the national flower of Holland, they are available the whole year round, but you do pay that little bit extra. So thanks a million, everybody that has joined us. Huge thanks to everybody who has shared our class. Anybody that hasn't shared our class, why the feck haven't you? Because I'll be able to click into your names and I'll know whether you shared or not. So go and click share there. And again, watch out. I'll announce them when I'm coming back on to do our next free class. Again, thanks a million for joining us, and hope you all have a lovely day and a lovely evening. See you all soon. Bye bye.